Hello and welcome to the Silver Lining, the weekly geekly talk show where we discuss any number of topics that may have come up during the week, including one or two larger ones. I am your host, Uncle Silver, aka Silver Greg, aka Greg, whatever you're comfortable calling me, and welcome to you, my co-host, the chat. Always a fantastic time having you here to discuss whatever craziness may have happened during the week. It's been a little crazy. It's kind of been up and down for me. I'll be 100% totally honest with you. Hold on, I forgot to actually post something on Twitter to say that we're live here. Normally I have like a little description of the episode, but I don't have time, so we're live. All right, so that's up there. Hello, Hero Hyrule, Science Fox. Look at the luscious black hair. My hair isn't actually black, it's actually dark brown. I personally, my two favorite hair colors are jet black and pure white. And I would never dye my hair. I don't think I would dye my hair at all. If I had to choose, I would probably go all white before I went all black, but I do love it. Aqua Sakura, John Poncho, Ryan, Rocky Bear, what's going on, everybody? So you're saying Gen 5 is your favorite Pokemon game? No, Gen 5 is Diamond and Pearl and Platinum, right? I already had Pearl. So here's what happened. Earlier this week, I got yesterday, I got 15 DS games from the Goodwill store for $15. It was a little baggie. Is this baggie here? These are not the games. I switched it up. Gen 5 is black and white. Okay, for the black and white thing. Never played black and white. But yeah, I got 15 DS games for $15, and one of them was Diamond. I already had Pearl, and I already tried to play it and was bored of it, and I never finished it. I'm actually at the end of Moon right now, and it's kind of a slog. I'm like struggling. I'm still struggling to get through it. I got one of those Tapu Kuka, whatever, the island legendaries or the island guardians. So I got to go get the other 3, and then whatever extra Pokemon there are. So I'm almost like, I'm getting there, and then I can focus more on Dragon Quest Builders 2, and then focus on whatever's coming later. That's actually the same for me. It was black. I just thought, but it was actually really dark brown. Yeah, I think jet black hair is actually not super duper common. Not from what I've seen anyway. I have met a lot of people that have it, but when you see somebody with dyed jet black hair, you can see the difference. Yeah, I put Sun down, couldn't get into it. How are you like it? Yes, I'm playing it, and that's it. I'm really not overly liking it or not liking it. I can tell you I won't play it again. Getting sick of Pokemon. You should play. I have it. AR. I have downloaded the Dragon Quest demo. I am very, very much wanting to play it, but I know that I'm going to need to sit down for hours with that, and I can't right now. I'm weird. My hair is mostly black, but I've had strands of brown, reddish brown, and even a clear strand or two. Yeah, Ryan, that happens. That I get red, light brown and almost red in my beard every once in a while. Not anymore though. Now it's gray. Like I got the salt and pepper beard, which I found out that's what it's actually called. I managed to read a bit about the TV. You read about the CRT fairy? I haven't heard anything, so it's making me sad that the CRT fairy might have dialed it down for a little while. Have you gotten a Three Houses theme? Yeah, I got that earlier today. I completely forgot about it. I saw Game Explain put up a video where they grabbed it. They played for a few hours, I think. So it reminded me that it was there. So I played it, and it took me like 2 or 3 rounds, and I got it, and it's fine. I haven't played Fire Emblem Three Houses, so it doesn't do the same thing for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not hearing the sounds and seeing the images and thinking, oh man, Fire Emblem. I'm thinking, I can't wait to switch back to the regular theme. Brown, but with parts of red. Hey, Ramby, what's going on? He might be back maybe next year if he struck twice already from long period of absence. Oh, the CRT fairy, yeah. The CRT fairy was eaten by the flat screen goblin. I missed the Splatoon skin, so I will be forever incomplete. But yeah, I got the Fire Emblem skin. Yeah, it's it's not difficult. It's 100 points. Even if you just sit there and don't really do much, you can get it after a few rounds. Eating cookies and cookie and cream drops. Interesting. Hey, Agent 501. I missed the GB skin, but I have the other. I love the GB skin is great. I like the Game Boy skin. Greg bragging over here. No, I'm serious. Like, for the Tetris skins, it's only 100 points, and even if you get to like 60th place, I think you get 10 or 15 points. Like, there's a chart for it, but yeah, you don't actually have to be like a Tetris master to get them. It just takes you longer. Yeah, I prefer the Splatoon theme. Yeah, I like them, but I played so much of Tetris as Tetris, so the other themes are like, oh, it's a cute distraction, but I just play. What I'm waiting for is the NES skin. That's the one that I'm waiting for, the NES sounds and all of that stuff. I'm waiting for that to drop. When see, I was talking about Tetris and I said drop. I mean, my personal best in the game, so I was pretty proud of myself. It's a good feeling. I like that. I like when those are the milestones. Like, you just hero. Those are that's one of the things I tell people about Tetris. When people say like, how do you play it and all of that, I'd say just play for Tetris 99. I mean, just play a good game of Tetris. Just focus on building things up, not trapping yourself. Getting lines and just focus on that. And then eventually, when you've got that down to almost almost a muscle memory sort of rhythm, then you can focus on the strategies to start earning more medals and dominating people. You know what I mean? insert Titus. I still call him Titus. I guess it's Titus. I still call him Titus. Remember the P5R character design controversy? The Mega Man X fandom has been having I'll need to look that up then. I'll need to look that up because I remember the Persona 5. We talked about that here. Titus. I call him Titus. Okay, so here's why I call him Titus. On the cover of the game, I think he's standing in water and he's got the sword that looks like water. So I thought tide, like Titus, like when the tide comes in, or like a tidal wave. That's how I say his name, Tidius. Yeah, that's why I say it that way. I say it like tidal wave because there's these allusions to water on the cover of the game. So it just made more sense. Tide Potus. Oh man, I'm actually surprised, by the way, that we just barely got started on time. I came up here and I sat down, and I turned on the lights and everything, and then Beth calls down or calls up, and she's like, do you have a few minutes? So I said, yeah. Her mom hit the buttons on the remote and turned the whole thing into Spanish. I was tempted to say no, just to see if she would watch TV for 2 hours in Spanish, but I went over there and fixed it. But I came back and I came back and put the screen on blank and brushed my hair and then started the show. It's funny because I knew someone in elementary school named Titus. Yeah, that's Titus. I don't know. This is the curse of old video games. This is the curse of books. You play these games and you read these books and you don't actually know how all of that stuff is pronounced. So there starts to be this kind. I want to write a book, right? I want to write like a short story, and I want all names to be like you don't know how to pronounce them. I want to do that with every single name. I want to listen to people have conversations and not one of them gets all the characters right. Right, what's going on? Warning, incoming game? Okay, for my week it's my week's been okay. I'll be honest with you. To bring it down for a second here. I actually did get a little bummed out earlier this week. I think I'm overloading on social media, or not social media. See, that's the thing. It's the news coming in through social media. That's I get bummed out, and then I see, the Amazon is on fire, all of this stuff, all this bad stuff's going on, and I get bummed out. And then I think people say, "Oh, well, you got, it's too much social media. You're on Twitter and you're on Facebook and stuff." And the problem is not that. The problem is the news that I'm getting, but I get it through social media. So it's tough. It's tough for me to get bummed out and then take a break from social media, because I go online and I look at memes and people post funny things to me, and it's great, and that helps me out. That makes me feel better. I post so that I can come on and stream, and we do the streams, and we do the show here, and that stuff is very beneficial to me. So the idea of stopping social media for me is painful, because it's where I get the news and the things that are bumming me out, but it's also where I get the salvation from those things. You know what I mean? It's very weird. Hey guys, I haven't been here in a while because of vacation and license to chill, but I'm back finally. Minion, what is going on? Welcome back. It doesn't help when stuff like that is trending in other places, but yeah, I go to Twitter and Facebook, and in Facebook I just sort of browse other people's stuff. I don't really interact with Facebook too much besides that, and it's everywhere, man. It comes at you. Tweet Greg funny shit after this. Amazon's on fire, social media bitching about chicken sandwiches. Yeah, and Rye, I think that's the problem for me. I think that, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm guilty of focusing on, the chicken sandwiches of the world and all that silly stuff instead of the important stuff, because the important stuff it feels so daunting. You know what I mean? It feels like I can't do anything about this because the problem itself and the sources of the problem seem so overwhelming. So I focus on chicken sandwiches, and it's the best I can do. I'll help when I can. I get that way too, especially because the news gets retweeted and forward. Yeah, and it doesn't go away, and I think that's the problem. I was bummed out Monday because I was questioning why everyone's better than me. Other than that, you can't question why everyone's better than you, because no one's better than you. No one matters to you more than you, and that's the person you need to focus on. Don't compare your behind the scenes to other people's highlight reels, is the phrase that I always heard. Don't think about why your life sucks and why you feel like you're inadequate compared to what you see from other people. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna tell you something right now that you probably hear, and maybe don't there are not enough people telling you this. That insecurity that you have about yourself, pretty much everybody has that same insecurity in one version or another. Everybody does. Everybody feels inadequate because they focus on what they see that they can't do, and what they see that they don't have. It's just the way it is. It's not good. It's not great. It's not a fun way to live, but it's the truth. But the faster you realize it's the truth, the faster you can sort of move on and restructure your thinking about the whole thing. Hey, AGM. Joke's on you, social media. I prefer burgers. Yeah, but some people have it better or worse. To an extent, but Ryan, even that idea is subjective. You may think that somebody has it better than you because they have more money, but they may think you have it better than them because you have less responsibility. You have less weighing you down on your shoulders. You know, it's easy for us. Most of us, I would assume, live in houses. And it's easy for us to look at those people in the third world countries where they live in like a hut or something. You know what I mean? And we look at them and we think, oh man, it could be worse, you know, and they could look at us and say, wow, it could be worse. But then when you flip it around, they have first of all, they're not connected to society the same way that we are, which we were just talking about. So right off the bat, that's got to be awesome. They don't have mortgages, they don't have bills, you know what I mean? Like it's all about, oh, where everyone has insecurity. Yeah, it's just it's a tricky sort of slippery slope. As weird as it sounds, the idea that other people have it better or worse than you is actually very opinion based. And we talk about how don't get your facts and your opinions mixed up. You know, that's what people do. People think that their opinion is a fact, which makes everybody else wrong. And in reality, when you look at other people having things better or worse than you, that's actually your opinion, because what you think they have that you wish you had, they probably don't really like either. The biggest example I always use is the people who have a lot of money. They're like the rich, the uber rich, the 1%, or below the 1%, the wealthy celebrities. And I always talk about how it may be easy to look at them and say, oh man, they've got the fancy cars and the big house and all the money and stuff, and they're doing so much better than I am. But they would probably look at us regular people, and think, wow, when they meet somebody, they make a legitimate friend, whereas I, with my millions of dollars, have to deal with everybody being fake to me, you know, because everybody wants something. That's why I always look at the jaded celebrities where, oh, everybody wants something from you. Like, that's probably true for them. And in that regard, we live better lives than they do. It's just an idea of putting things into perspective. It's very important. Talking about the Hollywood where everyone has insecurities. I don't know. There's a little bit. Look at it. We started the show off with a little bit of a silver's nugget. We have our silver. I haven't made a like a little musical thing for silver's nuggets yet. All right, so I'm not gonna bother now. Oh, that's the price they pay for not having to worry about the tons of things that most people have to go through, especially if you choose to go into something like acting. Yeah, exactly, Ryan. And some people some of those celebrities are willing to pay that price, and some of them aren't. It's very funny when you look at some celebrities, and I mean, you can probably think of some celebrities where you remember them being famous, and then all of a sudden they disappeared and they are gone completely. Or they're doing things, or even better, they're doing things behind the scenes and they don't want to be known for what they're doing. That to me is always the indication of somebody who got rich and famous and hated it. You know, they did not like the fame, they did not like the money, or they like the money, but they didn't like all of the responsibility that the money comes with. You know, it's very interesting. I would love to sit down. As unlikely as this is as this would happen, I would love to sit down with a selection of people from various financial situations. You know what I mean? A poor person, middle class person, somewhere that's sort of upper lower middle class. A rich person, a rich famous person, you know what I mean, and then sit them down in a room and then sort of go over their stories and see how they feel about the situations that they're in, because I guarantee you would end up hearing a lot of things that you did not know about. Player Michaelis raiding with a party of 4. Welcome raiders from Player Michaelis's party. How is everybody doing? Hopefully everybody is doing okay. Enjoying it. Hopefully here, stick around here and enjoy the sights and sounds of your dear old Uncle Silver. So they drop out of fame. They still have the money from that previous fame. Ryan's most of the time, I would say that they have some of that money left over. But I wonder if some of them drop out because they either lost some of the money or they realize that the money doesn't last. You know what I mean? It's a great way to set yourself up for the rest of your life, but depending on who they are and what they did, some of that money is not there. Just look at Mia Khalifa. She only made $12,000. But I won't get into that one. That's a double entendre there. What's upper lower middle class? I heard that in The Simpsons before. You're in the middle class, but you're like the high end of the poor class or the low end of the middle class, somewhere in the range there. I assume you were recording for the Silver Line. Yeah, no problem, Player Michael. That's part of the fun. It's always fun to have people here hang out and contribute to the conversation because I can't do this forever. But we are there's a reason famous guy ends on the street became a cliche. Yeah. Andrew WK. I like Andrew WK. Guys, just win the lottery. It's easy. I still think they're being whiners if they have literally everything they could want taken care of, but the general populace makes going out a bit harder. Guess what? The general populace makes that. Ryan, that's why I always say, if you don't like being rich, you can go back. Like, if you win the lottery, like Ryan said, win the lottery. If you win the lottery for $50 million and your name gets out there and you become famous for it and you can't tolerate the fakeness because everybody wants something from you and you don't feel like you're accomplishing anything because you don't have to work for anything, which is a real feeling, which is a legitimate feeling, and I understand that. If you have all of those feelings, you can go back. You can write checks and give all of your wealth away to various charitable organizations and keep a little bit of money to buy yourself a house and then go and get a job. You can go back. Listen, I stream 4 days a week. If you are out there listening to this and you are super wealthy and don't feel like being super wealthy anymore, let me take it off your hands. I won't even take all of your money. I will take some of your money and I will show you how to live a positive life with money. The catch is I get to keep what I buy. Because you can buy true. No, you can't buy true love. But you can buy happiness. Okay, but we are going to jump topics. Because we should actually get into some topics here. Who killed Spider-Man? I'm sorry, I had to use this picture. I don't know. Yeah, you can certainly buy happiness. Apparently you can buy happiness unless you are a Sony who is so hard up for money that they decided to damage this deal that they had. Okay, so I said that, and I didn't mean to say that because I'm gonna preface this conversation right now. Before I even say what the conversation is, which obviously we all know what the conversation is. I don't have a side in this. I have not decided that these people screwed up or these people screwed up, because there are two versions of the story. There are two ways of looking at all of this, and the reality is we, the common folk, have no idea what went on behind the scenes. I'm not even there's a few facts that I'm going to say that I'm not even entirely sure of. And I would ask that you all can possibly fill in the blanks. So obviously, I'm pretty sure we all know at this point that Sony and Disney have called it quits. When I say Disney, I mean Disney Marvel, but they've called it quits as far as their arrangement with Spider-Man. Spider-Man is a property that still belongs to Sony, along with the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. No, I'm sorry, Fantastic Four and the X-Men are Fox. Sony still owns Spider-Man, but Marvel Disney still owns the merchandising rights. So this is what I understand about the original deal. The original deal that brought Spider-Man into the MCU. This is my understanding. Marvel would make the movies. Sony was allowed to oversee it, but ultimately, effectively, Marvel was making the movies. Other than 5% of, I don't know if it was first dollar gross. Hey, I am Cloud. Or if it was total. I thought it was first dollar gross. Marvel was making 5% of first dollar gross from the other Spider-Man movies, and then Sony was making the other 95%, and then all the rest of it. This is what my understanding is. All the rest of it from the movie. And then Marvel, I'm actually gonna say Marvel because it's just easier. And then Marvel was going to make money off of the merchandising rights. That is my understanding of what the original deal was like. Hey, Dan Poole. So for this arrangement, what Disney wanted to do and what Marvel wanted to do was, well, Marvel and Sony. Marvel wanted 50-50 on co-financing, which effectively is paying for the movie, and I think also for the profits. Sony wanted to do, you basically got the original deal right. Sony wanted to do what they were doing before, which was 5% first dollar gross for Marvel. So Sony would get 95%, and then the rest of the profits. That was my understanding of what Sony wanted to do. They wanted to keep the same deal as before. This is the line. That is the line right there. Those to me are the two most important points of this. Disney wanted to do 50-50, Disney Marvel. Sony wanted to do the original deal before, which was 5% on the first day and then nothing for the rest of it. That's it. Wherever you land is based on one of those facts. The argument for the Disney side is that seems fair. By the third movie in, Sony should be up on their feet enough to handle 50%, a 50-50 deal overall. The Sony argument is that Marvel's going to make all of the money on merchandising. So why shouldn't Sony make all of the money on the movie? My opinion is that both companies are evil. We need a break from superhero movies. Lizard, yes, that's ultimately my opinion, is that the MCU should already be taking a break. There should not be any question of Spider-Man. The MCU should be taking a break. Sony made the home movies, but Marvel gave the MCU to, yeah. Tell that to Sonic the Hedgehog. Why should Sony agree to a 50-50 split if they're not making any money off the merch for it, and Disney is literally offering them nothing in return? Okay. That right there is where I have the most heated opinion. That is my not heated, my most it is where I am most opinionated, I should say. Harken back to olden days of yore, when Marvel was doing badly and started selling off some of their properties in order to stay afloat. Sony got nothing from Infinity and Endgame. Yeah, I'll give you that. harken back to the old days when in the days of Elektra and Daredevil, when Marvel was doing bad and making trash and they needed money to stay afloat. So they started selling their properties. When they sold the Spider-Man property to Sony, they did not include the merchandising rights, which is a smart move. It's a smart move on their part because Sony would make Spider-Man movies. Marvel could make money off of the merchandising, and that works out for them. That's a revenue stream for them. And if you think that that's stupid, I'm talking with my hands a lot. That's how you know that I'm getting really into it. If you think that that's stupid, I have heard multiple times about how George Lucas, when he was making Star Wars and the studios didn't believe that Star Wars was going to be successful, worked it so that he kept the merchandising rights. And everybody talks about how what a genius move that was, especially because Star Wars actually worked out, and he made billions of dollars off of merchandising. It's a smart move to do something like that. And it was a smart move for Marvel to do back when they were struggling. Now we have it. Disney purchases Marvel. Marvel creates Iron Man. That kicks off the MCU. It turns into this mega super conglomerate sort of thing. Sony can't figure out what the hell to do with Spider-Man. And they turn to Marvel. Marvel helps them out, and they work out this deal. It's not fair that Marvel made this deal. All my opinion. It's not fair that Marvel made this very intelligent deal years ago. And now, because they are bigger than Sony, they're supposed to go back on that deal. They're supposed to give money to Sony, which they've already done. They've already done that with 2 movies. But they're just supposed to give money to Sony for merchandising because Sony needs it. Or Sony wants it. Like that, it doesn't seem fair to me that at some point in time, Marvel made a smart business decision, which everybody agrees is a smart business decision, but now they have to pay for it because Sony didn't think to do that. Because when Marvel sold Sony Spider-Man, Sony didn't think to say, well, we need to take Spider-Man with the merchandising rights, or at least half the merchandising rights. I mean, it's not fair. I'm going to give you a scenario. Follow me here. Follow me on this one. I hope I don't lose anybody. You have a parent that takes their 2 kids out to the toy store, and they buy them each a toy, because when you take 2 kids to the toy store, 2 kids are coming home with toys. If you take one of them to buy a toy, it ain't going to happen. Hold on. So you take them to buy their toy. You go home, one kid plays with his toy very nicely. The other kid treats his toy like crap. That kid breaks his toy. And then the parent says, oh, okay, you kid who were treating your toy fine, now you have to let him play with it. You see what I mean? Like, it's not really fair to the one kid that was sort of taking care of it, because the other kid was a jerk to his toy, that now all of a sudden it has to be both of theirs. And that's it. I know that it's a weird sort of scenario, but that's sort of what I think is going on here. Like, there was this deal that was worked out, and Sony treated Spider-Man 1 and 2 are good. Spider-Verse is amazing, but let's be honest, those other movies were awful. We can acknowledge Spider-Man 1 and 2 being great. We can acknowledge Spider-Verse being great, but you can't deny the other stuff that happened. And that's my problem. And that's the only defense that I have for Disney on this, is that the only defense that I can give them is that it's not their fault that Sony did not think ahead with this deal lost the merchandising rights, and now they're forced to give them some of it, some of the merchandising rights. I will agree. Somebody else said 70-30. I think that's a better deal as far as the financing. I think that makes up for the 50-50 thing. Because 50-50 might seem a bit extreme. Here's the thing with the 50-50. This is why I don't defend Disney. This is why I say that it all comes down to those two facts, because you can go back and forth on these two facts. I don't agree with the 50-50 split because there is not 50-50 benefit here. I do think it's something more like 70-30 or 80-20, because Sony is making a lot off of these movies that Marvel is effectively making for them. But Marvel is getting the recognition of having Spider-Man in their MCU. So, and that's a big plus. Having Spider-Man in the MCU, first of all, is a very popular character. Second of all, Spider-Man in the MCU is a terrific, I was going to say fantastic way to introduce the Fantastic Four. That's an easy in, because if I remember right, that's how Spider-Man was introduced. The other way around, I believe. Wasn't it Amazing Fantasy 15 that Spider-Man fought the Human Torch? And I believe that was the introduction of Spider-Man. That's big. So it would be cool in the MCU to have it the other way around, where you're watching a Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man fights the Human Torch, and that's the introduction of the Fantastic Four. That would actually be very interesting. The bottom line is that Sony does benefit more, or MCU does benefit more than Sony does. So Sony should be making more money. They really should. 5% first dollar gross is ridiculous. I think that's way too low. Hey, Cassidy. And I apologize. I went on my rant, and I haven't been reading chat. They deserve to. No. They don't deserve to never make the movie again. But they deserve to. By the third movie, they deserve to be handed the reins themselves a little bit. Sony should be taking more responsibility in the creation of the movie. I don't like the idea that they just hand the reins over to Marvel and Marvel does all of the heavy lifting. Sony, by the third movie, Sony should be taking on some more of this stuff. Yes, Spider-Verse is fantastic. We're not talking about Spider-Verse because I have mentioned multiple times here that the idea of an animated universe and the idea of a live-action universe should be separate, and they should be handled separately. We're talking about live-action movies, and the reality is, live-action-wise, Spider-Man has had more duds than successes. It's like 3-2, but it's true. If you want Sony to take more responsibility, then why do they need Marvel Disney? Because Spider-Man is still, and that's actually a really good question. That is actually a really good question. And the reality is, they are very capable, especially in this climate, of making a quality Spider-Man live-action movie on their own. But Spider-Man as he exists right now is entangled in the MCU. And removing Spider-Man from the MCU, first in his own movie, will isolate Spider-Man too much. Because we, the fans, will look at it and say, but there's this other stuff going on. On the MCU side, it hurts because Spider-Man in some way has been involved. And for him to just suddenly disappear doesn't make sense either. Sony doesn't need Marvel. And Marvel doesn't need Sony. But the idea that both of them work together is sort of what's going on right now. Spider-Man's as well, no matter what. It doesn't need to be part of the MCU. God forbid we make it so. No. I don't. I have no problem with making a solo movie. I have no problem with making a solo movie. I think you're giving way too much weight to the MCU part of it. I don't know. I don't. I mean, don't get it wrong. They're moving away from that. They have the possibility of moving Spider-Man into its own universe. but I just don't think that it's there yet. I think that Spider-Man should be in one or two more MCU movies just to sort of help establish what its own universe. If the Venom movie took off, here's the thing. If the Venom movie took off and was successful and actually good and interesting, I would say, all right, team Venom up with Spider-Man as a movie, not team them up, have them fight each other, and turn that into its own thing. But the Venom movie was, from what I understand, the Venom movie, which was not super duper fabulous. And it, at this point, it's not, I wonder if Spider-Man is strong enough to stand on its own without any sort of referencing to the MCU. Just like Spidey do Spidey stuff, he doesn't need to be with the event. No, he doesn't. But it's just, in order for Spider-Man to work on his own, you need a world built around him, and it's there. But I worry that Sony is going to take what they have and turn it into something bad. And okay. And here's the biggest problem. Here is the biggest problem with this, and I think that this is the issue. No, it doesn't need to. It doesn't need to tie into the MCU. It can be on its own. But here's the problem, Ryan. This is the main issue, and this is the issue that everybody has admitted. Everybody, whether you realize it or not, you admitted it. You actually admitted it earlier, Ryan, and everybody else has admitted it. Spider-Man on his own, without any ties to the MCU, is not allowed to have any ties to the MCU, which means that any world building that they did in the Spider-Man movies, in the two Spider-Man movies, that is related to the MCU, can't be used anymore. So what are we going to end up with? We're going to end up with another origin story. We're going to end up with another actor playing Spider-Man. We're going to end up with another batch of villains, and that's terrifying. It is terrifying. Yes, they can make a Spider-Man movie that works. Nobody is saying they can't. Spider-Man 1 and 2 were great movies. They were fantastic movies. 3 was a disaster. Amazing Spider-Man was blah. Amazing Spider-Man 2 I didn't even bother seeing. Venom I heard was so-so. Thank you, Rye. Yeah, it is going a little fast. It is entirely possible, but we don't have that much evidence that they can do it. And we definitely don't have any evidence that they're going to do it as well as they have done it with these Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. And that's the real fear. They can do, all of these properties can split, and they can make a whole bunch of solo movies and do whatever the hell they want. Some of the best MCU movies were the solo movies that had not much of anything to do with the other characters, with the exception of a mention here or two, here and there. But you're not able to do that with Spider-Man because of the unique situation that they're in with Sony and with the whole split. You're not able to have the world that we have seen with Tom Holland be separated from the MCU. They're legally not allowed to do that. That's the thing. They're not able to. I question, and this is something that I don't have any legal knowledge for. Later here, Hyro, legally, can they even have Tom Holland as Spider-Man still? I question if that's even possible, because having Tom Holland as Spider-Man is in and of itself an allusion to the MCU. And I don't know that they're even allowed to do that. I would love for someone who is more legally adept than I am to find that out. In my mind, if Sony has to go on its own, they can either start all over again, which is another origin story, or continue what they have, acting like the MCU doesn't exist, and it'll feel weird, confusing for the ultra-casual audience, and possibly not as well built. Yeah, that Minion, that's pretty good. Yes, they can have Tom Holland. Wait, what was that? Yeah, Cassidy's kind of right about that, and I don't. And Ryan, I don't know if it's them being idiots. I think it's just something that we're used to at this point. We've spent the last 10 years looking for clues and links to other things because of the MCU. So I think everybody's just doing that now. We've seen it before. We've seen the whole shared universe between multiple series, and I mean, the damn Glass movie was made into a shared universe. Unbreakable, and the movie with the new Xavier, James McAvoy, where he was like the multiple personalities, and then they turned that into the Glass universe. Like we look for it. No one is restricted by contract. They're not the golden age of Hollywood. Ryan, not necessarily restricted by contract. Restricted by cat. I don't know. I guess maybe it is like not like Tom Holland works for the MCU, so he's not allowed to work for Sony, but like Tom Holland works for the MCU as Spider-Man, so he cannot also work with Sony as Spider-Man. You know what I mean? It would be who was he? When Brandon Routh was Superman, which I love that movie, by the way, so don't hate me for that. When he was Superman, if they did a Superman TV show by a different company who somehow had the rights to the TV show but not the movies, could he play Superman but be a different version of Superman? Like I don't know. I didn't think they should write Spider-Man out of the MCU. They're not gonna write him out. They're just gonna not talk about him. They're just gonna not talk. I promise you, the MCU, if assuming that all of this doesn't get turned around, the MCU is not gonna write out Spider-Man. They're just gonna stop talking about him. Actors are not restricted anymore. If Sony he wants to, he can still do it. Okay. If Tom Holland is specifically contracted to Marvel Disney, is that no, Lilac. If Tom Holland is specifically contracted to Marvel Disney as Spider-Man, you see what I mean? Tom Holland, and again, I'm probably getting this all wrong, and everybody's telling me that I'm wrong. So I'm just trying to clarify the point that I was trying to make, or the question that I had was, Tom Holland could be in any Sony movie he wanted to be, but is he legally still allowed to be Spider-Man? You see what I mean? And if he plays Spider-Man, is he allowed to be the Spider-Man that was in the MCU? Because Tom Holland may not have that contract. There might not be. There's not a contract for Tom Holland as Spider-Man. But does the contract extends to portrayals of the characters? If Tom Holland goes to play Spider-Man at Sony without there being a contract between them, is he technically allowed to play the same Spider-Man with the same origin story and the same friends and the same everything else? Because that version of the character, maybe obviously Tom Holland does not belong to Marvel Disney, but that version of the character does. So that's what I'm curious about. Sony still owns the Spider-Man rights, but they created a version of that character for the MCU. That's what happens with origin stories. It's just interesting. I find it very fascinating. They own the yeah, I guess so. If they own the rights to Spider-Man in any version whatsoever. Yeah. All right, Ryan. I'm an idiot. I got it. Good thing I don't have to say much to this topic. Yeah, I'm not getting heated. I'm just enthusiastic about the discussion. That's what I like. I don't mind. We're not getting insulting or anything like that. It was based on the MCU, but Sony made the home movies. Yeah, I guess AGM. I guess that's probably the bottom line of it, is that while it was made during the MCU, Sony maybe wrote that character, so it is their character. Right? Don't worry. Nobody's getting hype here. Well, we're getting hype, but I'm not getting angry. Trust me, Rye. If I was getting angry, I'd turn the stream off, and that's actually not a joke. If I was getting really legitimately pissed off, to the point where it was like affecting my mood, I would say, you know what, I can't take this anymore, and I would turn the stream off. I would rage quit the stream. I have no problem with that. I like a more I like a spirited discussion every once in a while. It's good for you. It's good to have a spirited discussion. It gets the blood pumping. This is one of the more tame argument. Yeah. This is to me a friendly disagreement. I see things one way. Ryan sees things the wrong way. That's totally okay. I'm teasing, of course, Ryan. Apparently negotiations are back up today. I haven't seen anything confirmed, but a lot of people are telling me that they're working on that 70-30 deal right now. That includes bringing the new Venom into the MCU, among others. That adds up to 7 more movies, but I haven't seen it pass rumor. Yeah, so I'll wait and see what happens. It's like Debate Club all over again. You know what's funny? Fox, I used to get like this in school. We would get into these discussions. I had a class called Cultural Anthropology, and effectively the class was like opinion class. You would learn these things, and then what the lessons were was how you felt about these things, what kind of impact you thought they would say. It effectively turned into a sort of debate class. The teacher, months into the class, there was me and this other girl, and we used to get into these not arguments. We used to get like this, where it was like a spirited sort of back and forth, and we would joke around and stuff, but we would get into it. And he actually pulled us aside one day at the end of class, and he said, we have a debate team here. I would wonder if you two would consider joining it. And I said, like, why? And he actually said, you go back and forth very well with each other and with everybody else, and I think it would be interesting. I think you would benefit from seeing that sort of environment. And we both said no. And then we both kind of agreed the same thing. Like, we worry that in a structured environment, we would get too pissed off. So we didn't want to do that. But I did used to like that. I used to like getting into those conversations. I have no problem getting in a heated conversation and then going out for a drink later. That doesn't bother me at all. Disney doesn't need to own everything. Well, Lizard, you're right about that. Neon Mole, that might be the most important aspect of all of this. Neon Mole, you might have said the most important thing about all of this. There's just a lot to this that I still need to understand. The bottom line is, any discussion that we have about this stuff is from our side of the table, which we don't know. We don't know what is actually going on the other side of the table. What we know is 50-50 split, no. 5% first dollar gross, no. Which, raise your hand if this is the first time you ever heard of first dollar gross. That's all we really, really know. For all we know, there was a lot of stuff attached to these deals that were absolutely no-go. And they were like, no way. For all we know, as part of the 50-50 deal, Sony wanted to hire their own writers and change the art style of the movie. Given the last 2 Spider-Man movies, other than in Into the Spider-Verse, that might not have worked that well. You know what I mean? Marvel might have wanted more control and wanted to push out some of the other actors to bring in their own or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these little things that we probably don't know. The reality is, what we are all arguing about really only consists of part of the story, and we, the common folk, will never have the whole story. Speaking of it, though, apparently, according to Stan Lee's daughter, no one treated Stan well. Yeah, Ryan, I did see that. I saw something about that they treated him really badly, and I'm curious to know the specifics behind that. But there's only so much, you know what I mean? Like, there's only so much that, and again, that's behind the scenes thing. Like, we'll never know that whole story, because Disney's never going to sit there and say that they treated him badly, and Stan Lee's daughter is never going to admit that she was lying. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that is behind the scenes that we'll never have the answers to. This is the most intense hour I've ever been a part of the Silver Lining. Yeah, most of these business deals get passed along like a game of telephone. Yeah, we rarely hear Minion. Damn it. Exactly right. The game of telephone. Everybody knows that game. The one where you whisper something to the person next to you and it goes around a big circle, and by the end you get Purple Monkey Dishwasher. That's exactly what this is. By the time all of this news gets down to us, we don't know how altered that information is. And we could be getting it late. We could have gotten that news about, oh, the deal broke up, and everybody ran out to talk about it, and then somebody's saying in here that there's a possibility that the deal might be back on, but they're restructuring. If we would have given it time, we would have found out. Sadly, conglomerates treating comic creators like shit isn't anything new. Oh yeah, Siegel Schuster, Bill Finger, Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby. Oh yeah. Well, Jack Kirby is Jack Kirby's the one above all. So no worries for him. Although Stan Lee is now the one above all. If you want to have a look at the outline of the possible new agreement, I just dropped it in Discord. I'll wait for that to be more more substantiated. Bottom line, Disney's evil. Lizard, bottom line, any corporation with money to gain and something to lose is evil nowadays, or at least corrupted in some way. You call it telephone. We always known it as Whisper. Yeah, I think they call it the telephone game experiment, which I did not actually realize until a while ago. Some years back, somebody called it the telephone game, and I asked them what they were talking about, and they said that that's what it was. And I thought, oh, did that in like grade school? I didn't know that it was called the telephone game. Not all of us know what's going on in the edge. Yeah, and we never will, and we probably never will. Sorry, I'm late. I'm here now. Purple Monkey Dishwasher. By the way, that is a for anybody that does not know.
Your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.
That is a Simpsons reference. Jules Stewie, thank you so much for the follow. Very much appreciated. Welcome to the conversation. In Mexico, the game is called Broken Telephone. All right, Rye. See you in a little bit. Okay, Jules. I just don't know what's going on at all. Okay, but we are going to move on past that, and I'm going to hit the button here.